So maybe if we're lucky. Okay. Maybe it's here. But at least it works on Twitch now. And can I hear myself? Can I hear myself? Yes. Okay. So that's fine. And the resolution is fine, and the live here on. Okay, and YouTube is working too. Yes. Okay. 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 Perfect. Okay. So now we should have YouTube and Twitch going on. And here in the corner, right there, we should see the sum of the chat. And I can see the chat here too. I can see who is writing from YouTube and who is writing from Twitch. Sadly, I can't see a profile picture, and that's kind of annoying because I usually use that to navigate and remember who is who, where now it's just a bunch of, whoops, you can see here, looks like this for me. So I can see the chat here, I can see Puri was writing from Twitch, and I can see Keltosaurus writing from YouTube, blah, blah, blah. And the Silent Blast stream is here too, perfect. So I just wanted to give Restream a go. By the way, on Restream's page, I don't know if you know what Restream is, but Restream is a service where I can stream to that service, and then that streams out to Twitch and to YouTube and potentially to other platforms. If I paid for it, then I could go to more than 2. But on this free one that I'm using, there should be a watermark. But it says so in the pricing and the feature and all that. But don't we agree that there is no watermark now? Can you see a watermark saying Restream anywhere? Hello, it's 008. Welcome. Thank you for the following. Can you guys see that? Because I can't. At least not on YouTube. No, exactly. I can't see it on YouTube. I can't see it on Twitch. So I don't know. Anyway, that's not. I can only test this live. I can't really test. Then I should have other fake accounts that I was testing this on. But come on, we're not that many people here anyway, so it's we can test it here, I guess. Okay, so the reason I want to try Restream is just that I just want to see if I can reach some new people on Twitch by doing this, but only if it's easy and if it makes sense in the chat. Because one of the issues by Restreaming is that people in the chat can only see half the chat. You know, YouTuber watch YouTube, that is, people that are watching on YouTube can only see the YouTube chat in their chat, and Twitch users can only see the Twitch chat, and only the combined one is shown up here. Clash Quest, thank you for the subscription. And now this also clashes because I guess he subscribed on YouTube, because I don't have subscription enabled on Twitch, because I usually don't use Twitch. So anyway, let's get back to what this is about. I'll close this one and this one, and then just have this one as I used to have. Maybe I should let people know that I'm streaming. Shouldn't we do that? like that, and I'm just gonna... You can watch some B-roll while I do this, just because I have a button for that. I know it's old footage, maybe I should do a new of these videos. Okay, so here I am again. I guess I posted the new link on Discord. I hope so. I took it from the new page here. Check. Yeah, it works. It works. I didn't post the old one because I didn't post anything until right now. Hello ODC and Fern TV and Kiltazar and the Silent Blast and Amnesty was here earlier. Purry. So, anyway, just showed up. Yeah, I just posted it right now while I was playing that B-roll thingy. Hello, Wessel and Jolo Boy. Thank you. I love your game. Thank you. Thank you for buying it. Thank you for supporting it. So now let's get started here. 7 minutes in. So last month we had the 10 days of public alpha testing of the multiplayer, and that was all fine. And we had the last live stream was a stress test of that, really, where we were like, I think we ended up on 25 or 30 people or something like that. So that was pretty crazy in one server. So that was much more than I expected. It was a dedicated server that kind of Guanaco hacked, but anyway, but it worked, and it was a little laggy, but it worked. It didn't crash, and we could play around and all that. But in general, it also worked pretty fine for an alpha with the limitation that was in there. So that's all fine. So that stopped. I have been on vacation and done some other stuff, so that's why nothing happened for the last few weeks. But last week I started up again, getting back. And so what I'm doing now is I'm actually taking a step back because now I kind of proved that the basic stuff worked, so that's fine. And now I'm before starting to improve on that and add more multiplayer specific features to that. There's some stuff I need to do to make that to make other stuff possible in the future. So, and the first thing is that hello Konako and Sita and Josh and Red, hello. So one of the first thing I would like to do now here after the public test is over is to upgrade Unity to the latest LTS version, the long supported version. So that's some technical stuff, but the problem is that I'm on the 2021 version of Unity right now, and I know for a fact from previous projects that if you don't keep up with Unity updates for some time, you can pretty quickly get too far behind to get back up to speed, and then you're missing out on new features and improvements and stuff like that. So I want to go from 2021 to 2022 because that just released like a month and a half ago, that new LTS version of Unity, which is the stable version it's the new stable version basically. And you want to keep, even though there are some stuff I want, but I don't know all the changes. There are a lot of changes, but typically there are improvements and and you also need the new versions for new packages, and yeah, basically you need to keep up with that. It's something that you as a player typically don't care about, but I'm just sharing technical info. Maybe there are some game developers in here, maybe there's some of you just interested in how stuff are working behind making a game like this. So I want to upgrade to the latest version of Unity to be able to follow along and all that. But I did that, tried that, and I want to do that. I want to do all these big changes in the start of a developer cycle, you could say. The thing is, when you develop a game like this, I'm doing it in cycles. So I'm doing it in not in fixed amount of time cycles, but I'm doing a little chunk, then release that to either the public one or typically to the private testers. There was a small group of testers that is helping me out testing this stuff, or even just for myself. But anyway, you're doing a kind of a little sprint, update the version number, boom, and then you have a new version. So you do these things in these iterations. And when you're doing major things like upgrading Unity, which is something that you don't specifically test as a thing, because it's not I don't change anything by upgrading, but you want to do stuff like that, upgrade Unity packages, upgrade Unity versions, do stuff like that. You want to do that in the beginning of a sprint, so that you have the entire sprint to discover things that, problems that occur over time. You have longer time to find bugs in the Unity thing. For instance, previously there was an issue so I upgraded and then everything worked until I was supposed to when I was building the game. So normally when I'm building and testing, I do it in Unity, and then I rarely do a build, or sometimes I do a build to actually have it out to you guys or test it in a full setup. And there was an issue with that, for instance. So you want to upgrade in the beginning of the cycle and do all these major things there, so you have longer time to find bugs before it's released for somebody to test it. That's just for me personally, of course. But anyway, so I upgraded Unity in a branch in my repository here, and then always something breaks. And one of the first things that broke was the current first-person controller, meaning that's the code and the logic behind the player you are controlling. So moving with the mouse and keyboard and jumping and all that. But that was actually not a problem as such, because I was already having a task for upgrading that first-person controller, because the current one I'm using in the game is an old standard asset Unity thing that is many years old, and it's not being updated. Hello, Yarn Gaming. It has a lot of issues, and for instance, you can't crouch in the game right now, and a lot of other stuff that is not super well, and it's I don't want to spend time trying to make it work in that code, because it's such an old code base anyway. So already I had on my to-do to upgrade that first-person controller. So when that broke, when I tried to update Unity, it was kind of like, okay, then let's do it, then it's now. So I get back to the version of Unity that actually works, and that's where I am now, trying to make a new first-person controller. I don't want to make it from scratch, because I'm not an idiot, but I want to have more control over how it works. I want to be able to customize it a bit. I want to make it so that we can do crouching, and I can do so you can be kind of thrown around due to explosions and stuff like that. And all stuff like that was very hard, if not close to impossible, to do in the old one. But that should be easier to do in this new asset pack I'm building this on. The thing is, I've chosen a pack called we can find it here. I don't know if you care about it, but I'll show you anyway. So So I want to use this controller here because this is I actually started out by using Unity's own new built-in, it's not built-in, but it's theirs first person and third person controller. But very quickly I ran into some issues I can't remember right now. There was some issues with it that I was like, okay, if this is already a problem, I don't want to continue this route. Where this one is, I actually bought this asset a long time ago, but now it's free. This asset is more like a foundation for a first-person controller. It's a motor, it's an engine for building a controller, and you build your own logic on top of that. So that's what I intend to do. Of course, they have a lot of samples I can take from, so I don't have to reinvent everything. But one thing and that is what I'm having a problem with now, is the camera thing, because as you see here in the video here from this asset, it supports both first person and third person control, and basically anything you want to do. But now that I'm redoing all the controller thing, I'm at least want to make it possible to make it third person in the future, because that should be fairly easy if I'm doing this right, I hope. And one of the things I have an issue with is that right now is that this asset pack here comes with its own camera control, and I'm sure that works fine. But I would like to use something called Cinemachine in Unity, because then it gives me some more options for making some nicer movement and transitions of the camera to, like, you know, if you want to have something where the camera can fly around, maybe a free fly mode, or we can have, maybe there can be cameras so you can see things from different angles or whatever. You can do various things. But this one is not using Cinemachine by default. So I need to make this work with Cinemachine. And standard-wise, that should be easy. But there is a problem. And I can show you how it looks right now. And the code is, when we get to the code and all that, it's very messy. But that's typically how it is when you're doing something, because I don't know how to do this, and specifically first-person controller with rotations and stuff like that. I'm not that good at math, and these quaternions, which nobody knows how it works really, it's a nightmare. So the code is not very nice now, and it's not working, as you will see in a moment. But I have an idea of why and how I can fix it, maybe. I don't think we'll make it work in this live stream, but just want to show it up. So just don't be too scared about the code. It's make it work and then clean up the code. So when you look at this at first it looks kind of fine. One thing you will notice just by leaving it here, I don't know if you can see it, maybe if I zoom in a little here, I can remove that, but I kind of actually like that feeling. You can see here, just by, I'm not touching anything now, the camera has a slight movement now that kind of give, you know, it's not that static, it's a little more alive when it kind of just stands there and do like that. It's not something you will notice when you play, but it just gives a feeling. Okay, and now you will see the trouble. I don't know if you saw my TikTok and my short the other day where the bean was lying down and totally rotating around. That's fixed. But you can see here, this is, as I said to you, Kelsey, this is kind of drunk mode 2.0, right? This is not playable. You can't even jump now or anything. You can only move around and you can turn around here. But as you can see, it kind of jitters like that. I don't know if it's... I can't even do that because the tools are not here or anything. The controller is not working. All I can do is walk around here. But, and I also think I know why it's do like that. The thing is that this one of the problems with the old one is the old first person control that I'm using. One of the problems with that is that the camera was part of the player. The camera is inside the player, and that makes it a lot harder to do something with the camera. Then you have to have other cameras, and it also makes it weird when there's multiplayer, because then I need to remove the camera from all the other clients, and it's just not how you do it today. So can you do the game more realistic? I will still keep this low poly look and things, but modders can make, you know, fireworks and maps and eventually maybe characters in game that is more realistic, and also tools at the end. So eventually modders can make this very realistic looking. But don't look at this one, but now, okay, I don't know if it's too complicated, but the thing is that now the camera is part of the scene, and the player is spawning dynamically, and then there's some code telling the camera that it should follow this player. And then of course I'm only doing that for the player that you are controlling and not the other ones joining. So that's one thing. So if I'm opening up here the player here, so the player I can do like this, so we can see it here. Maybe I couldn't. What? What? Whew. That was weird. No. What? Okay, wait a second. I think I dragged and dropped something weird here. Okay. So I take the player. Okay, there's something wrong with my mouse. It's double clicking when it shouldn't, and thank you. Okay. So the player doesn't have a camera now, but the camera needs to follow the player, and being a first person, it needs to have its eye, you know, at the eye level. And then eventually, third person wise, we could move the camera out, and then all the controls will still be the same. The camera would just be moving. But we can do that because the camera is not part of the player. The camera just follows the root, which is at the eye level here. Maybe it should be a little up, but anyway, let's do it like this. So we can see here, and it should maybe be up a bit, and then we can take the glasses down a bit. That doesn't really matter because I will change this anyway, and that's not really the problem. So the camera is following this route up here in the player. And the reason this is a little complicated is that, and I can maybe show it here. So imagine that the camera is here at this point, and it's looking the blue way here. It's looking forward, of course. When you turn the mouse left and right, this camera shouldn't change. The whole player should be rotating, right? Because when you're turning left and right, the camera should turn left and right. And depending on which way you're pointing, when you hit forward, it should go in that direction forward or backwards and sideways and all that. But if you move the mouse up and down, this camera here needs to go, which is basically the glasses. We can be represented by the glasses here. When you move the mouse up and down, or a controller up and down, oh, not that one. It should rotate up, and this one should rotate up and down, and not the entire character, because we don't want to do like this when we are looking up and down, because that will be weird in many ways. So that is all working now, but it's just to explain that parts of the rotation with the mouse is moving the entire body, and the other direction up and down is moving only one of them. And remember that the camera is following this node here. Now comes the problem. And I won't go through the code because yeah, that's not important and it's not really correct now. But the problem is that I think the problem now is that when I rotate the player, this engine, this kinematic player, first person controller engine, have some kind of ticks where it rotates, and it rotates in fixed updates, I think, because it's also using some physics stuff and stuff like that. So it doesn't rotate like 60 times per second. It maybe does it 20 or 30. I can't remember the amount. So per default, it would be kind of laggy when you turned it to the sides because it's rotating via the engine, which is not updating as often as we are used to. Whereas the up and down works fine because I'm controlling that motion on this specific game object here. I'm just talking to myself now. Anyway, so that's why you see, so to compensate for that, I'm turning the player more often than the engine is updating, but then when the engine is updating, it turns it back to where it think it should be, and that's what gives this jittering thing, I think. I don't know if that makes sense. But the way to get around it maybe is if I had another object that was not a part of the player, but that was following the exact location as this player camera route. So it would not follow the rotation. I would follow the Y rotation, but it would not follow the Y rotation. I should rotate it, and then the other one should follow afterwards. I don't know. Let me try. Hello, Amnesty. Hello, Kenneth. Hello, Ricky. I'm just rambling. And can I do when multiplayer comes out? I don't know yet. When it's done. Yeah, Kenneth, basically there is one camera and then I use Cinemachine virtual cameras to move that camera around. That's what I wanna be in a place where I can do that if I need to, or if modders need to. For instance, if a modder need to use the camera for something else when you're doing something, then it should be easy for modders to just, have a virtual camera or something like that, and then just say, okay, now this is the one to go, and then yeah, everything should work. But and also, if I'm doing third person, Cinemachine comes with a lot of logic to avoid, clipping into things and stuff like that. So I just want to build on top of that. But that's just causing me some issues now, because as you can see in the other one, per default, the example characters that come with this kinematic player controller, that I could just copy that and that would work. But that has its own logic for avoiding stuff, and I really don't want to, have to manually keep that, update that. I just want to use Cinemachines because that seems to be working pretty well. So yeah. So thank you, Josh, for thanking me for explaining it, because this is what I know now. This is not necessarily the problem, but I think this is a problem. But the reason I got the idea yesterday, but I'm kind of, I don't want to add this extra. I feel like I'm adding an extra unnecessary object, but I can't really see how to do it. how to do it another way if I want to use Cinemachine. I know how I can do it by using like the sample one from the package, but I want to use Cinemachine, and Cinemachine is following this camera route here, and that camera route is rotated together with the player, and the player is rotated by this engine that is only updating on fixed ticks and not like 60 or 100 or how many times per second. Camera shooting from last position, like VTubers. I'm not sure I understand, Kenneth, but it's so yeah. So I'm actually moving the camera, but I'm moving the. Anyway, let me take a look at the code here so I can see, because it's right now. I remember yesterday I uncommented some stuff and commented in some stuff and did a lot of. This is from the. Yeah, so the player basically have a player character controller, which in every object handles the character input, which is the movement forward, backwards, left and right, mouse up and down, mouse left and right, basically, which comes from the different inputs. Could also come from controller, that doesn't matter, that's abstracted away right here. And then I send this to the character controller. But this happens in updates, so that means that happens very often, and that's perfect. Then in here, it sets some move and then figure out, how fast to move, and it figures out which way to move. We should zoom in a bit. Figures out which direction to move. It figures out the rotation, so it says the current rotation, and then plus or minus that what I delta wise did from last time. If I move the mouse left or right, then we have the new rotation. Then we use that rotation to figure out what move vector, which direction we should move in. And then we had a vertical, which is the up and down camera rotation. So we just calculate all this in this method, which is called Nevi update. We just calculate these, and this is where this engine comes in, and it's both. It helps in some ways, but right now with this it makes it a little harder, because if I could just update it up here, it would just be smooth. But I just set this different data here, and then due to not getting actually to make it jitter stuff, it updates the velocity, meaning the player's movement direction on its own fixed interval. And that's where it kind of uses the current velocity, and then it uses the input vector and then figures out which way to move. And that's all fine. The rotation here, let me see, current rotation. So that's the X. So that's the up and down, yeah. And that's the left and right. Yeah, and this one is done on its own fixed update, and this one turns the character left and right. Remember, the object that our camera is following is a child of this player character that moves left and right. So it moves, together with the character moving, which is fine, except that it's not doing it often enough per second. So, therefore, one of the suggestions from the sample was to have a later update that sends in some information about the left and right, and then it rotates. Now I have some duplicated code here, I'm going to clean that up, but basically it's just figuring out on every frame which direction it should be, and then it moves that, and then it moves the camera route local rotation to that, and it does that and it works. But then a few frames later, this one takes over and overrides that. So that is why this one needs to rotate a child object or another object that is not a child, because it shouldn't rotate together with that. Jesus Christ, it's too complicated. And that's what I mean. It shouldn't be this complicated. No, Gonako, you use delta time to compensate for that. That's not the problem. It's not so they're faster than others and stuff like that. That's not the problem. So that's not the problem. So let me think here. And again, I totally get if this doesn't make sense for it almost doesn't make sense for me. I just wanna undo this cut changes here because I did some weird thing before. So we have the camera, then we have the virtual follow camera, player follow camera. That's fine. Then I have this. I wanna have this one, which is the player. It's a bad name, follow position. But the idea is that this one this one should follow the player's position at that location, but not the rotation. But it should follow the rotation. It should follow the rotation. No, it shouldn't, because that should be updated by that script. I'm just afraid I'm... Let me check something. Let me check something in this first-person controller here. So this is the first-person controller from the new standard asset in Unity. And you can see they do an update, do ground generate, they do move. And controller, yeah, so they do move in update, that they're moving a character, and then in late update they're doing play rotation. Okay, should I maybe bump it up a little so you can see it better? So I do camera rotation, and that happens in every frame too, just as the last update or late update. And that one is turning the camera target pitch up and down, as I'm also doing. But the reason this one is working is because the move, which rotate the target, let me see, but direction, move in direction, then it figures the direction and then move it that way, which is the, so that is the correction. But that happens in update, and that's why it's not a problem for this one. Player follow virtual camera. This is the virtual camera, and that follows, that is set by code, is set to follow that camera route in the player. Okay, let me see here. So this is the player camera route. Okay. So was this one? Okay, so let's do that first. So this one, the camera, the player follow, it's a bad name. Hello, Ducky. Maybe this was a bad stream to pick as my first stream on Twitch in a long time, but anyway. It's usually a little more interesting if you're doing something that you actually know how it works, so it's a little more convincing. But then again, if I make this work, it's a big thing. But I really think this, in the new player controller here, this is the toughest part, because the other stuff is pretty easy. So once I have this sorted, I'm pretty sure I can make the rest of it work pretty fast. Okay. Okay, 0, 0. So the follow position is gonna follow the camera. It shouldn't follow the camera. That was just this. So that position. What should we call it? Okay, I will find another name, but I need to have it on the camera manager here. The player follower camera targets. That's not it. Camera. Okay. So. This is where the naming becomes very, very important and very hard. So this one, okay, what should we call this? This object, what I want this to end up doing is to, when the player join, the player that is actually control the cameras following, this one needs to follow along, not as a child to the player, but at the exact same position as the player. And how to do that, I know that. I know how to make that work. But what should we call that? Player follower precision. Player... What do we call that? It's something that is constrained or is locked to the player's position. Player follow. Okay, I'll just call this now. I can't come up with anything better. So let's call it that. So we just call it player follow position. Oh, target maybe. That's and then we just do a little check here just to make sure we have it, because we need it. So like that. And then we can also do in the wake, we can also set it up. So no, we can't. We need to do, yeah, it will make sense in a moment. Let's call it player for target, and then player reps for position targets, blah, blah, blah. So now we can get a hold of it. Oh, you can see. So like that. Okay. So that's the camera manager that I have a reference to it, so I can access it from some other scripts later on. Because this scene is the same every time, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, okay. So, and maybe I should have a script on this one, so I don't have to, yeah, I should. That was not. What? There's something wrong with the mouse again. Jesus Christ, on my keyboard. I can't drag and drop stuff. Like that. Boom. So now I have a reference to the player follow position, player follow camera target. That's the one it should player follow camera target. What? Wait a second. Was this? Maybe this was what I. Okay, this was what I called it yesterday. Ah. Okay. I thought I made it, but then okay. So this one. Jesus. So I called it. Oops. I called it this one. And it's already there. Okay. So I called it player follow camera target. But maybe the other name was better. Really. Position. I don't know. Jesus Christ. Okay, so now we have that one. I know it's boring. Sorry. Amazed 10 people are still watching. So we put it up here. Okay, so now the camera manager have a reference to that game object here, which have a position constraint, which is something we can now hook up to the player when the player joins. So let's remove that. Let's go into the camera controller. So that one starts up, and when the player spawns, we can, yeah, exactly. We can say, okay, so when the player spawns, so the camera root, does the player camera root? That's not what it should follow. What it should follow is, yeah, and we could actually set that up some other way. Actually, don't have to do this here, but let's just do it for now. So this one should really follow the follow the position. See, that's the position there. No, it should not. Yes, it should. It should follow that one. And then becoming too complicated. Hello, QVQ. So the camera first person photo should follow that type position. We could set that up in Unity. Now I'm just doing a code, but we could do it in Unity already by just dragging it. So that follows that one. And then this one. Yes, this one, and then we get component, and this is also where I should have a it should be constraint. This is again, don't look at the code. Position constraint. So this is a component in Unity that can constrain an object to the position of another object. So here we can say add source, and then we can add in the player camera root, I think. What is the source here? Constraint source? What? Oops. Set source. Set source. What? Constraint source. New default. Come on, man. Add constraint source. Huh? What is that? It's a struct. Okay, so it has these two. Okay. Okay. Source transform, and that will be the camera, the player camera root, and the weight is just default. That's fine. So, and then we can say constraint. Again, I will activate constraint activate true. Boom. So, what this should do, and let's take a look. When I join now, that player follow position or whatever we called it should stay on the same position as the player camera root. Oh, if only this could be easier. If you have an easier idea, let me know. So let's see here. Oops. Oh, come on. Take this over here. And then we take this here. And then we do this and we hide this one. So we have the player here. And we have the player follow position here. And we can see that it have a constraint and it's activated. And it have a constrained camera root, which is over here. So that is that one. So these two should be at the same position. See, this one is at, yeah, okay, we can see it here. I don't know why this is rotated. Oh, maybe I fucked up something before. Did I rotate this before? Yes, I did. Oh, that was because we played around with it. Jesus. That was my bad. Just go like this. Okay. So we have that player root there. And then we have the following position, which is this one, which should have the same position, but not the same rotation. So if we switch to rotation here, oops, this one, so we can see which way it's pointing. Why is keep showing? What is that? Anyway, what? 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 Okay, maybe something changed because I changed the play preview. It sounds super complicated now. Yeah, I'm working on a new player controller, and I'm building it on top of asset pack called Kinematic Player Controller or something like that. But oh yeah, okay, I know why it's not working. But the problem is that yeah, I'm building off top of an engine for a first-person player controller, and the reason it's getting harder for me now is because I want to use Cinemachine as the camera system, and this sample doesn't come with Cinemachine. It comes with its own player camera, which works fine. But I would like to use Cinemachine because it gives me some other possibilities down the road to do some stuff. And the problem is that the Cinemachine, it's pretty easy to set up, and I tell it which game object to follow here, and then it just follows, and then we can do first and third person and all that. That's fine. The problem is that okay, now it's fucking up completely. But the problem is that the way the character is turning, it's turned in some specific ticks by that engine, which is fine for just movement and stuff like that. But for camera thing, it starts lagging because it's just following that child node. I don't know if it makes sense. I'm trying to figure out how to make it work. But anyway, let me see. Why is this? So this is following this one, yes. So why is it that when I move, so I move over here, why is this still over here? Huh? What? Source. Why is this child's? Okay, now I'm completely lost. Okay, it is there, and the body is there. Okay, so that's fine, but it's still rotated. I would like what? So this one is following this one. This one should be following this one. Why isn't it doing that? Maybe I should read up on this, because if this position constraint is not working, then I can just do it some other way. I can just set the position in update manually. That's also a possibility. We can try that just for the fun of it. So instead of doing this, just to see if it works, we can and this is, it's getting really weird now. So in here we can just say, okay, camera, player following. Was it? This is getting. I'm sure this will be fine once it's done. And then we just take the play camera route position. So now we're just setting in every update. We're just setting the player following position target's position to the position of the player camera route, and we are setting the virtual camera to follow that position. So now that should work, and then if that works, then I can go into the code and make it and then we remove that constraint thing. And then if that works, we can go in and change the logic of how it turns. So we turn in every update, we actually turn that following object, which means that it turns smoothly and then the character follows along right after. It's not something you will see and discover, but it should remove that laggy stuttering when you're moving the camera, because that looks weird. Again, I think this is maybe the worst live stream I've ever done because it's super complicated. But I wanted to do it on stream because I was thinking that maybe somebody had some good ideas. Okay, anyway, so now it actually works. So now we can see that the player, I don't know why it's rotated so weirdly. That's weird. I have to fix that. But anyway, so here we now have the player camera route, which was the one that the camera followed before. And when I turn the mouse now, we can actually just change it here, runtime. So we take them. Now it makes sense. Now I can show you. First of all, let's take the position. So this is the position of the player camera route, and you can see when I move around, that follows the player. Then whoops. Then we have this player follow position, which is the one we just created. That should follow this object's position in every frame, so that follows along here wherever we move. So that's also fine. But as you can see to the right here, the player is now moving around. But when I'm moving the mouse, nothing happens because I'm not actually rotating that object yet. And the camera is set up to follow this object. Whereas this one is not updated. It's updated, but that's not what the camera follows. We can make that follow that one quickly by dragging this one over here. So now the camera is following this one, and now you can see it's actually moving as expected, but it's still doing this jittering because now we are setting it back to how it was. So here you can see the effect that we are trying to avoid. You can see it's, I don't know if it shows up on stream, but it's super weird, laggy, it looks weird. But if we now take the virtual camera here and make it follow the follow position, like that, then it should be more smooth, but it's of course not turning. I don't know if I can quickly, as a test, I can't, if I play controller, what is that doing with that? Is that the one that's turning? It's actually turning that one. Maybe. I don't know if this will work, but we can try it. So if I now take this position and put in here. It works like that, but we can't turn it left and right because it's... I can actually turn it, but why is it? It is turning. Why is it not turning? Is it because no camera controller? That's because it's not. That's because it's not turning now. It should be turning. Yeah. Anyway, I need to think a little more about this, but I think actually it will work now, and be smooth. We can see the up and down is smooth, but that was smooth too before. What if we... No, we can't do that. We can maybe try and... No, that won't help it either. What if we... we can try something. I'm not sure this will work. And this is not how it should be. We can maybe try and take and put in this as the rotation. This will for sure fuck up. So we take that, the rotation, and then we freeze the down we want to take. Oh, it's activated. I'm just... No, we can't do that because then we are back to the same problem, of course. Okay, yeah, I have to change the code. I have to change the code to turn that in the update and then let the rotation of that happen afterwards. Okay. In theory, I think I know how to make it work, but I have to go now because it's dinner time and my brain is melting. But I think I can make this simple now. I know it's super complicated now, and I don't expect you to understand it. It's just to show what I was working on, and this was maybe the most boring live stream in a long time. It's typically a little more fun when I'm a little more sure what I'm doing and not trying out stuff. Hello, Jenna. So I'm out. Crazy that 9 people is still here. So yeah, see you in the next live stream, which is hopefully a little more interesting because this thing is working and we are working on some more exciting stuff. So yeah, see you in the next stream, and thank you for stopping by and saying hi. See you. Bye.